You guys want to hear a funny joke? 7 college students go into a cabin in the woods. I know, right? Who could be that stupid? But even in the year 2024, we're still out here making the same old mistakes. This time, we have Sarah and her friends here, but they won't be sticking around for long. Somebody knows their dirty little secret, and it's only a matter of time before he's hacking them apart in the most messed up ways imaginable. We're here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the festival killer in All My Friends Are Dead. This party is about to turn into a death trap. Feeling nervous, Sarah here packs her bag for a big music festival where she's going with a group of friends. It's taking place on the 20th anniversary of a brutal series of attacks meant to represent the 7 deadly sins, and the worst part is that the killer was never caught. Meeting up with her best friend Liv, they go to pick up the rest of their squad, except for Erin here, who has to stay back at work. Sarah's anxious because she hasn't known them that long, but her friend reassures her that she'll fit right in. All of a sudden, their van randomly blows a tire. They're stuck without a spare, but just then, a local police officer happens to show up. The officer says that there's a mechanic in town, but they'll need a place to stay for the night, and Sarah happens to find one just a few miles away. She even offers to give them a ride since it's so close, but staying at this house is about to be their biggest mistake. Everything seems normal at first, but while his friends are exploring the house, Will notices that the TV is stuck on only one channel, showing a movie about the 7 deadly sins. In the kitchen, they find a bottle of alcohol that the host left as a present, and 7 shot glasses on the table, each representing one of the sins. There's even a note signed by SDSK management wishing them a good stay, so they decide to each take a shot from the glass that fits their personalities. But they have no idea that someone is already watching their every move. Okay, these idiots haven't realized it yet, but none of them are making it to this festival alive. Back when they first blew a tire, everyone said that it was impossible to find a place to stay, but then they conveniently found this place just a few miles away. The TV being stuck on some weird-ass movie, the shot glasses, and the note in the kitchen are all referencing the 7 deadly sins. And in case you forgot, this is all taking place on the 20-year anniversary of those attacks. Since they're barely 20 years old themselves, they may not even know about the killer, but these girls are so bizarre that somebody should at least give SDSK a quick Google search. And then they'd realize how this all ties together. To make things even worse, it looks like the killer is already creeping on the party. Smart travelers know that creepy hosts sometimes place tiny hidden cameras around rental properties, allowing them to spy on guests without them knowing, but there are ways to find them if you know how to look. A lot of times they will be hidden in other objects like alarm clocks, fake smoke detectors, vents, lights, or even decorations, so start by scanning each room for items that seem out of place. By using the flashlight on your phone, you can check for light reflections off of the tiny lens, or you can turn off the lights and switch to your front camera. The IR filter will pick up the infrared lights that the cameras use for night vision, revealing where the cameras are hidden. It's never a bad idea to at least keep this in mind when you're staying at an unfamiliar place, and if these kids were more focused on safety instead of partying, then they would have probably realized by now that they are being watched. Now, after Googling what SDSK means, finding the hidden cameras, and noticing that suspicious locked door on the second floor, that's enough coincidences for me to go into survival mode. First, they need to stop drinking any more free booze because they have no way of knowing what else could be inside of it. Then we all lock down all of the doors and windows so that nobody can get inside, and reach out to the host to see if they can explain why they chose to go with serial killers and hidden cameras as their theme, because that's weird as shit. I'm also making sure that we stay in groups from now on. That way, I'll have 6 other meat shields around in case something goes wrong. At least they still have working phones, and Erin to give them a ride, so if it were me, then I'd be ready to get the hell out of here at the first sign of trouble. Once they're settled in, Mona invites Sarah outside to take some pictures by the pool, which turns out to be just a kiddie pool that the girl brings with her everywhere she goes. While they're taking selfies, Sarah explains that she was a loner in high school and says that she's really excited to finally be a part of their friend group. But there's more to the story that she hasn't told anyone just yet. Later on, the player of the group, LB, notices Sarah looking good in her bikini. He knows that Aaron has a crush on her, so he decides to send him a text hinting that he might steal his girl just to get under his skin. While they're all partying out in the yard, Mona gives Liv some tips on how to get more likes on her posts, trying to get her up to that 1,000 likes goal. She says it's easy as long as you post the right content, but what she doesn't know is that their influencer careers are about to come to an end. Checking his phone, their stoner friend Guy sees that his favorite DJ is putting on a show later that night. He can't find an Uber, but he's so motivated by bad decisions that he decides to go on foot and hopefully hitch a ride. Before leaving, he tells the others to look for the giant banana if they need to find him, having no idea that they'll never see his ass again. Guy wanders through the forest in a dangerous state of intoxication, stumbling down the path until he finds a spot with a bench. Deciding to take a break, he sits down and starts talking to a random squirrel about how he's supposed to get to the festival. Asking him if he's getting a ride, he says that they need to find the road and then flag one down, but just as he's getting ready to leave, a person wearing a mask suddenly jumps out and tasers him from behind, knocking him out cold. When Guy finally wakes up, he realizes that he's been taken to some kind of secret chamber and strapped to a strange device. There's a clear mask over his face, and the killer put on a pig nose to represent his deadly sin, gluttony. Across the room, a TV comes on showing a video of a time when he and the others helped Mona bully a girl named Colette, who was one of their old friends. At the same time, the killer empties a bunch of rat poison into a bowl and grinds it up, before taking the concoction and bringing it over to a bucket that's attached to a hose going into his mask. Guy begs him not to do it, but the killer flips a switch without saying a word. All of a sudden, Guy's mask starts to fill with the gas, and he begins to suffocate as the poison enters his lungs. But it's not over yet. The killer brings out another hose with a sharp blade, piercing this one straight through his stomach. Guy manages to headbutt him away, but it's already too late, and his body continues to fill up with the gas until he suddenly explodes, showering the entire room in his blood. That makes one victim down with 6 more to go. Real quick, everybody, with the holidays just around the corner, I'm starting to think about gifts for the meat shield. Loved ones in my life. And this year, I know how to beat the holiday chaos. Bombas. Now, I know what you're thinking, socks? Really, Guy? But these aren't just any ordinary socks. Bombas makes the comfiest, most luxurious socks you can imagine. They're made with premium materials like merino wool and have this incredible softness that feels like a hug for your feet. One of the best things about Bombas is they're the perfect gift for everyone on your list, whether it's your cozy loving grandma, your survivalist uncle, or your one friend who you really like but would definitely sacrifice in a death game-like scenario. Bombas has something for everyone. Plus, they're not just about comfort. Bombas is a purpose-driven brand that donates a pair of socks to someone in need with every purchase. And they've already donated over 150 million pieces of clothing, so when you give a Bombas gift, you're not just giving comfort, you're giving back. This holiday season, why not give the gift of warmth, comfort, and kindness? Check out Bombas' new holiday collection featuring cozy slippers, soft shirts, soft t-shirts, and more. It's the perfect way to spread some holiday cheer. New customers can get 20% off their first purchase of Bombas' amazing socks and apparel by using code HOWTOBEAT at checkout. Head over to the link in the description below to shop the new holiday collection and feel the difference for yourself. Thanks again to Bombas for sponsoring this video. Remember, one purchase equals one donation. Let's keep those feet warm and cozy and help those in need this holiday season. Okay, saw traps and a pig nose? Now, I'm not sure if we're dealing with a regular slasher or a wannabe John Kramer, but one thing is for sure. I think we all knew that this doofus would be the first one to go. Let's see, we're at a cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's dark, and you're so blasted that the squirrels are talking to you. Sure, buddy. That sounds like a great time to go wandering off in the woods all by yourself. Who even needs a killer when you're that dumb? Going off on his own made Guy here an easy target, and considering how messed up he was, it's no surprise that the killer chose to go after him first. If he would have stuck together with the others like you always should, then the party crasher would have had to pick another victim, and the insides of his stomach wouldn't be splattered all over somebody's basement walls. Now, waking up in a knockoff jigsaw trap is gonna be scary, but just like always, we can survive by tackling the problem one thread at a time. For Guy, this means starting with the duct tape on his wrists. He's actually lucky here because duct tape is a much weaker option than rope or metal cuffs. By rapidly moving his arms like he's trying to punch himself in the chest, he can actually rip straight through the tape, freeing up one of his hands. If the poison starts to come in before he can take the mask off, then the key is to hold his breath for as long as possible, and keep trying to get a hand free. Once an arm gets loose, you can immediately remove the mask to stop yourself from inhaling any more toxic fumes. But try to hold on to it, because we have to assume that the killer is going to jump in, and we can use the mask as a weapon to fight him off with. From there, he needs to get the rest of his body free, either by continuing to break through the tape by force, or by grabbing any sharp object that he can reach to cut through instead. If for some reason he can't break through the tape, then the next best thing is to use his body weight to knock the entire chair over, and hopefully get loose that way. As soon as you get completely free of the chair, don't worry about fighting. This is the killer's home turf, so they're going to have the advantage. Instead, all you need to do is stun them long enough to get out of there as fast as possible, and let the local authorities figure it out later. Back at the house, the others are all gathered around playing Spin the Bottle. Mona gets LB, and they decide to go upstairs for some 7 minutes in heaven, but what they don't realize is that they won't be alone. The whole time that these two are about to get down and dirty, the killer is watching on the cameras, carefully picking out which weapon he's going to kill them with. While everyone is distracted, he quietly sneaks into the bedroom to take them out, but he didn't expect them to have a camera of their own. Lucky for her, Mona happens to notice the intruder on LB's phone screen, forcing them to retreat back into the shadows. Terrified, she grabs the phone and rushes down to show the others, trying to figure out if there's actually someone else in the house. Playing back the video, all of them can clearly see a person in an LED mask standing right in the bed. At first, they wonder if it could be Guy, but they realize that he's too busy partying to start pulling pranks. Just then, they all get a series of messages from their old friend Colette, saying how she trusted them. And now they're all going to pay. Confused, Sarah asks them what the hell is going on, and Mona starts trying to cover it up, but Will decides that they should just tell the truth. He explains that Colette was part of their friend group during freshman year. The girl had a thing for Mona, but got upset when she found out that she didn't feel the same. Heartbroken, she eventually ended up dead when she couldn't take it anymore. Some people think that there's more to the story, but no one can actually prove what happened because the cabin where she died was burned down. After the story, Mona gets furious at Sarah for asking too many questions, saying that it's none of her business. But that's when she tells them that she got the messages too. Liv gets mad at her for trying to cover it up, but eventually decides that she's going to see a DJ who she met online, storming out of the kitchen with Sarah chasing after her. Upstairs, Sarah asks her friend if she's sure about what she's doing, worried that she might be making a mistake. Liv here doesn't even know the guy's real name, but she says that she's been in these kinds of situations before and would rather just get away from the rest of the group no matter what it takes. Opening up, she explains that the story downstairs wasn't completely true, making her promise not to tell Mona what she's about to say. It turns out that Mona and Colette actually did have a thing for each other, but Mona screwed her over and then refused to take any responsibility for what ended up happening. When Sarah asks why she didn't do anything, her friend confesses that getting Mona's approval was more important, saying that she never expected for things to go as far as they did. As she leaves, Sarah tells her friend to stay safe, but now she has no idea who she can really trust. Okay, hold on just a second. Are these morons actually serious? Have we all completely forgotten about what just happened here in the last 5 minutes? Everyone just saw indisputable proof that there's an intruder inside the house, and somehow that's not even the creepiest part. Now their dead friend just popped back up in the group chat and said she's going to make them pay for whatever they did, but they all just moved on like it's not even happening. That's genuinely insane. Liv here is about to split up from the rest of the group, and if she does this, then they might as well just say their goodbyes now. It seems like the memory of what happened to Colette has them all fighting amongst themselves, when what they need to be doing is working together to figure out what the hell is going on. Everybody is so distracted by this that they're not doing anything about the guy in the house. And with the fact that they're so isolated, it's going to be much harder to call for help or to find a place to escape if something goes wrong. So they need to start handling the situation now before it gets out of control. The biggest advantage that they have right now is their strength in numbers. This gives them the chance to watch each other's backs, brainstorm ideas, overwhelm the attacker in a fight, and even use others as meat shields if it gets too dangerous. From there, I'd arm myself with a kitchen knife and get ready to fight for our lives if the killer tried to break in. As long as they work as a team, they should be able to kick his ass if they need to. Even if he has a better weapon, there's no way that he's winning a 5-on-1 fight, so it's better to make a stand now than to get picked off one at a time. Going off on her own, Liv heads outside to meet an Uber that's supposed to be waiting in the driveway. As she gets closer, she hears what sounds like a girl's voice calling for her to get in. But as she looks inside, all that's there is an LED mask with a video of Colette in the back seat. Suddenly, the killer lunges in and grabs Liv from behind, dragging her into the darkness before she can call for help. Back inside, Sarah finds Mona in the bathroom, asking if she's seen a locket that she forgot on the counter. Mona says that she hasn't, and Sarah runs off to look for it somewhere else, seeming worried that she can't find it. She asks the guys, and both of them say that they haven't seen it either. But the truth is that LB here already has it, and is waiting for just the right moment to give it back to make himself look like a hero. He tells Will that he's going to do it just to hook up with her, but he has no idea that Mona has been listening from around the corner the whole time. They're getting ready to go to a show, but LB gets frustrated when he can't find any Ubers. Remembering that Liv knows a DJ, they decide to text her and see if he can help them out, but right now their friend has problems of her own. Somewhere else in the house, she wakes up only to find herself chained to the bottom of a golden bathtub. The killer walks to a TV and puts on the same video of Colette while the girl begs to be let go. But instead, he texts her friends and says that she's about to go live. That's when he opens up a live stream on her phone, asking for votes from the audience to decide if she'll live or die. Just then, a timer starts, giving her 2 minutes to reach a goal of 1,000 likes, but every dislike takes a vote away. The likes start coming in, but they aren't building up fast enough, and there's nothing that she can do no matter how hard she tries to escape. Worried, Sarah tries to text her, and the killer sends back a link to the stream where it looks like the girl has just seconds to live. Still thinking that it must be some kind of prank, her friends cast the 1,000th vote to save her life, but it's not over yet. That's when the killer reveals that he hasn't voted yet, hitting the dislike button and dumping a pot of boiling liquid all over her body to represent her deadly sin, greed. Somehow, the girl is still alive when it melts off her chains, and she tries to climb out with burns all over her body, but the killer punches her square in the face and knocks her back into the tub, making 2 victims down with 5 more to go. Okay, when Liv here decided that she wanted to look hot, I don't think this is what she had in mind. There were obvious signs that someone was targeting them, but they were all too focused on their personal issues to care. Dividing the group this way makes them all more vulnerable, so they need to put their differences aside until they've addressed the more immediate problems. Liv here has no one to blame but herself for ending up in the next trap, and the bad news is that this one's a little harder to escape from. But there's still a chance if she just makes the right decisions. So, like always, we need to start by assessing the threats. The killer made a big deal about the social media part of the challenge, but the truth is that it's mostly irrelevant to her survival. She has no control over how many likes that she gets, and that's not what technically is going to kill her. The real danger is that vat of boiling liquid above her head. Now, since part of this challenge seemed like a live stream, Liv should have started shouting for help and trying to explain as much about the situation as she could to whoever was watching. No one could get there in time to help her, but she might get some information out there that ends up saving her friends, even if she doesn't make it. Now, as for Liv herself, the first step is to test the chain for any weakness. We don't have to break the chain itself, but instead focus on the area where it's anchored to the tub. By straining her body weight against it, she could force the anchor point to snap off, allowing her to break free. From there, we could use the same chain, or anything else that we can find nearby, as a weapon to hold off the killer while we fight our way to the phone and just use it to call for help. Just like with Guy, once we're free, we don't need to win the fight, all we have to do is stun them long enough for us to get away. When the liquid melted her chains, that was Liv's last chance to make it out of this alive. Even though she was horrifically injured, if she'd executed a tactical roll out of the bathtub on the opposite side of the serial killer, then she might have still been able to get her phone and call for help before she eventually died from her wounds. Back with the others, Mona notices Sarah getting close with LB and decides to start spreading rumors about her so that they won't hook up. Meanwhile, they're all still in need of a ride, and Sarah convinces Aaron to come pick them up on his way to the festival. Realizing that her plan is not working out, Mona decides to just pull LB away and get back to business upstairs. But she doesn't know that Sarah here is already focused on something else. While they're alone, Sarah mentions going to the bathroom before they leave, causing Will here to stupidly bring up what Mona had just said about her. The other two show up just a minute later, and Sarah storms off furious at them for spreading rumors. So LB here decides that this is the perfect moment to go make her feel better. Following her upstairs, he knocks on the door and lets himself into the bedroom, pretending that he's there to give her back the necklace. Putting on some music to set the mood, he confidently walks over to the bed and pulls off the covers. But it's only an inflatable doll in a blonde wig. Embarrassed, he starts going back for the door, thinking that it must be a prank, but before he can get far, the killer sneaks up from behind him, spraying his eyes with pepper spray. Kicking him in the crotch, he pulls out a knife that looks like it came from your mom's closet and uses it to stab the guy in the crotch over and over again before finally sticking it down his mouth and hitting him with a baseball bat to finish the job. Downstairs, the others think that they hear the sounds of them getting it on, but it's really the killer smashing LB's face into a bloody mess. That makes 3 victims down with 4 more to go. Feeling left out, Mona decides that she wants to start hooking up with Will just to pass the time. That's when Aaron walks in saying that he's ready to party, but when he finds out that LB is upstairs with Sarah, he immediately runs up there to stop them from doing the deed. Hearing the music coming from inside, he busts down the door to the bedroom, and the others hear him scream when he sees what really happened there. Realizing that something's wrong, everyone else runs upstairs and finds the room covered in blood. LB's body is nowhere to be found, but Sarah claims that she didn't see what happened. Picking up his wallet, that's when Mona makes the most shocking discovery of all. This whole time, LB had secretly been age 36. Okay, I guess LB's the next one out, but on the bright side, at least he won't be getting any older. The craziest part is that they still had absolutely no reaction to what they just saw on the camera. 1 minute Liv was going to meet a DJ, but the next she's getting brutally killed in some kind of weird live stream jigsaw challenge, and nobody's concerned about that at all? What kind of friend group is this? And that's not to mention that there's still a guy in the house, but they're all just treating it like he was a figment of their imaginations. By now, nobody should be sneaking off to hook up in a bedroom. The police should be on their way, and they should be barricaded in a room praying that they don't get attacked next. But here we are. Now, LB made the biggest mistake of all by not checking the bathroom first. Everyone knows that you always have to check behind the shower curtain before you know it's safe. I still do that at my own house. What the hell? And I don't even have a shower curtain, so there's no excuse not to check here. When the killer pepper sprayed him, LB may have lost his sight, but that's when it was time to let his instincts take over. Execute a textbook shoulder throw, taking the killer to the ground. Then, while they're stunned, you pull the mask off of their face and rub the pepper spray from your face onto theirs, thus blinding them and evening the odds. From there, you scream for help like a wild animal while delivering a whirlwind of strikes and submission moves until either you pacify the threat or help arrives. As for the others, by now it should be pretty damn clear that they're all in danger, and the worst part is that the killer is still somewhere in the house. There's still a chance that they can send back help if they get out of there, and it's better that the 4 of them make it out alive instead of everyone ending up dead. The only problem is there's a chance that the killer already thought of this, so if they can't leave the house, then the next best thing is to use their phones to call for help. After that, we already know the plan. Grab weapons, barricade up in a room, and get serious about survival if you ever want to see another music festival again. While they're all just trying to figure out what to do next, they hear a voice that sounds like their friend Guy coming from somewhere downstairs. Running to check it out, they're surprised to find a locked door in the hallway that someone mysteriously left open, with no idea what's waiting on the other side. It doesn't seem safe, but Sarah thinks that it might be the only chance to save their friends, leading the way down while the others reluctantly follow behind. Making their way to the bottom of the staircase, they find themselves in a surveillance room that's been made to look just like an old clubhouse where they used to hang out. There's a TV in the middle of the room that's playing the video of what happened to Colette, and Aaron starts to panic as he realizes why the killer is coming after them. He tries to play it off like he wasn't a part of it, but that's when the TV switches to a shot of all 6 of them watching the clubhouse burn down. Terrified, Mona asks a very important question, wondering who could have taken the video if they were the only ones who knew. Will picks up the TV and slams it to the ground, furious that someone in the group must have snitched. Sarah butts in to ask what they're still hiding, and that's when Mona finally tells her the truth. It turns out that she showed LB a private video of Colette, and he posted it to his story. Even though they took it down pretty fast, it was already too late and the video had spread around the entire school, leading the girl to do what she did. When Mona found her body, she decided to burn down the cabin so that the evidence connecting them would never come out, or at least that's what everyone thinks. A fight breaks out between the group over who's the most responsible, but this makes Sarah extremely angry, saying that they're all to blame, and now it's going to get her killed. Furious, she shoves past Mona on her way to get some air, but that's when she notices something on the other side of the room. Hidden behind some curtains, there's a giant shrine with all of their pictures next to the 7 deadly sins, and they all match up with the ones that they were given before. Will here decides that he has heard enough and starts to go back for the exit when suddenly they hear a noise coming from somewhere deeper in the basement. Checking it out, they start to notice a rancid smell the closer that they get, until finally they find themselves in the middle of a large room, with stations set up to match each of their sins. Guy, Liv, and LB are already in their places, but there are still 4 spots left open. And now they know exactly who they're for. Panicking, Will makes another break for it, but this time when he gets to the door, the killer blocks his path, standing over him with an axe as he tries to crawl away. All that his friends can do is watch as he buries an axe straight into his back, but he's not done yet. Turning around, the killer locks the door and starts coming after them, forcing the others to run back into the chamber. Everyone runs for a hiding spot, but he knows that he has them trapped, and turns off his mask as he prepares to hunt them down one at a time. Okay, at this point, I feel like they're trying to get themselves killed. What do you mean you guys aren't in the basement after hearing Guy's voice? How would he have even gotten down there? He's supposed to be at a concert miles away, and now with Liv and LB getting killed, why the hell would you trust it? As soon as they found the bedroom full of blood, that was the most clear sign in the world that they should immediately leave and call for help. The absolute last thing that you should be doing is going down into that basement. Either pick a spot in the house to stand your ground or get in Aaron's car and just leave, because like we said before, it's better if at least some of you escape than if everyone ends up dead. But instead, they walked right into the killer's evil lair without even bringing any weapons or anything, and then instantly started fighting among themselves yet again while completely ignoring the fact that they were all about to die. By the time anyone finally decided to take action, it was Will running for his life, and all that he did was get himself killed. Now there's only 3 of them left, and they're all split up around the basement, giving the killer the chance to pick them off one at a time. Now, the killer might have them all trapped, but they still have him outnumbered. He also doesn't know exactly where they are, which gives them the element of surprise. What they need to do first is stay as low and quiet as possible, because we want to avoid drawing the killer's attention towards us at all costs. The longer he's searching, the better, because that gives us time to regroup with the others, and then we'll have a much better chance at taking him down. It never hurts to have some meat shields around, but while they're teaming up, they should also be on the lookout for anything that they can use as a weapon. Instead of fighting him first, I'd try to use the clutter and the darkness to help me sneak back over to the door. Hopefully we can get it unlocked, but if not, then we'll have to find a new exit. While we're figuring that out, we can use noises to distract the killer if he gets too close, or lure him away from important areas. In the end, they might have no choice besides fighting back, so if that's what happens, then the key is to use their weapons and work together as a team. It's not the safest strategy, but as long as they all attack at the same time, they should be able to take him down. While she's hiding behind some furniture, Sarah hears someone calling out for help. It's Will, and it looks like he managed to survive getting an axe to the spine, but it won't stay that way for long. Just then, the killer walks over and steps on the axe, digging it even deeper into his back, before lifting him up and forcing him into a recliner. Taking the axe, he gets Will into position and then brutally chops off his head, with his skull flying up into the air and landing directly back in his lap. That makes 4 victims down, with 3 more to go. Fearing for his life, Aaron crawls around the room until he ends up right next to the bathtub. While the killer has him cornered, the girls make another run for the door, but there's still no way to get it open. This time, the man drops the axe and pulls out 2 throwing knives instead. Thinking quickly, Aaron grabs his friend's decapitated head and launches it at the attacker, buying him enough time to run, but he ends up crashing headfirst into a heavy metal door, putting him right back in the same position, plus now with a severe concussion. The 3 of them scramble for cover as the killer closes in, but they're able to get away and keep avoiding him by sneaking around the basement. Coming around a corner, Mona sees Colette's face laughing on the mask and gets so distracted that she doesn't even realize it's a trap. All of a sudden, the killer bursts out from the shadows and lunges towards them, but Mona hits him with a box of junk, knocking him off his feet. This buys them enough time to run for the steps, but when they get to the top, they find that the door leading back into the house is also locked up tight. There's nowhere left to run, and the killer is right behind them, so with no other choice, Mona gives Aaron a kiss, before using him as a meat shield to save her own life. Shoving him towards the killer, she uses Aaron's body for cover as the man stabs him over and over again, covering the hallway in blood. Waiting for the right opportunity, she pushes the whole group forward just to get away, and they all go tumbling back down the stairs. Somehow, Aaron is actually still alive, but as he gets to his feet, the killer stabs him straight in the eye and slices open his chest, causing all of his organs to spill out on the floor. That makes 5 victims down, with 2 more to go. Still determined to live, Mona grabs the knife out of Aaron's head and stabs the killer in the shoulder, but he picks her up and body slams her down onto a couch, leaning over as he forces the knife towards her head. At the last second, she knocks the knife out of his hands and takes him to the floor, putting an absolute beatdown on this creep as Sarah uselessly stumbles around in the corner. Stunning him, Mona picks up a computer screen, shouting at him to get up so that she can finish the job. But that's when the killer removes her mask, revealing that she was really the police officer all along. Confused, Mona asks why she's doing all this, saying how she doesn't even know them. But the officer says that they deserved everything they got. This distracts her long enough for the officer to get back on her feet, and while she and Mona are locked in a death struggle, Sarah finally grabs a knife to help out, but instead she holds Mona by the shoulder and uses it to slash her friend's throat. Dying, she falls to the ground as she realizes that Sarah was working against them as well, but they aren't done with her just yet. Okay, well damn, who could have seen that coming? You know, except for literally everyone. I had a feeling that Sarah was involved from the moment this whole thing started, but Mona here was too self-centered to notice. Well, I've got some bad news for you, Mona. It looks like you f***ed up. You know, it's not every day that you see someone fall for 2 of the oldest tricks in the book. First, we've got the old Art the Clown catch 'em while they're slipping move, and then we have the Ghostface 2 killer surprise. I will admit though, that was a textbook use of the how to beat meat shield technique. It's just too bad you were such an awful person that nobody wanted you to survive. Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie. What the f*** happened to you? That's right, I didn't forget this whole thing was your fault in the first place. Not liking her back was fine, but sharing a private video of her with everyone in the school was completely f***ed up. And that's why now you and all your friends are slowly bleeding out in some dingy basement in the middle of the woods. This whole time, you never once suspected that Sarah might be involved, even though she was the only new member of the group and seemed weirdly interested in what happened a few years back? All you did was treat her like the quiet new girl who you could make into another one of your little minions, but I guess that ended up backfiring in a major way. But what can we expect from someone who sees the killer standing in the same room and then proceeds to absolutely not give a damn about it in any way? The truth is that you should have been out there hours ago, but you just wanted to keep on partying like nothing was wrong, and now it looks like your partying days are over. In the end, you made the biggest mistake of all, telling the killer to get up when you had them completely defeated. That's the same mistake that Tara made when she got clapped by Art the Clown. And if there's one lesson that we should never forget, it's that you always end the fight when you have the chance. You could have taken this creep out right there, but you let your ego get the best of you and turned a winning situation into one that ended with your death. There's only one thing to say when that happens: Mona, you f***ed up. Standing over her, she reveals that the whole thing was a setup for revenge after what they did to Colette. But the truth about what happened that day is a little bit different. The officer met Sarah when she was at her lowest point and helped her come up with the plan using the 7 deadly sins killer as their scapegoat. It turns out that Sarah and Colette actually had a thing for each other after she cuts things off with Mona. And when she died, Sarah knew that she had to make them pay. Pulling open her hands, she forces Mona to let go as a shower of blood squirts from her neck, making 6 victims down with 1 survivor. But the story doesn't end there. After setting everyone's bodies up in their places, the officer leaves the scene and Sarah calls the police, pretending to be the sole survivor of the killer's rampage. When they arrive, they find her covered in blood and acting like she's in a total panic, never suspecting that she was the one who set this all up. While the police are busy investigating the crime scene, Officer Shaw finds Sarah being interviewed by a detective and quickly pulls her away. They sneak around the back of the house to discuss the next part of the plan and get a call that the officers are blaming it all on the original killer, just like they drew it up. That's when Shaw asks the one question that hasn't been answered yet. If all 6 of her friends were in the video when the cabin burned down, then who filmed it? Sarah tries to walk away, clearly acting like she still has something to hide, but the officer chases her down, determined to find out the truth. It turns out that Sarah was planning to kill Mona that day at the cabin, but when Colette came to stop her, she accidentally killed her instead and burned the clubhouse down to hide the evidence. At the same time, the detectives find LB's camera and realize from her tattoo that Officer Shaw was the one behind the mask. Pulling her in closer, Sarah says that there's still one part of her plan left, and starts acting terrified just as the detectives show up to arrest the officer. Furious, the woman aims her weapon, but they instantly drop her, making 7 victims down and leaving Sarah as the only survivor. In the end, it looks like Sarah got away with her plan, but while she's sitting in the ambulance, she gets a call from a mysterious number. It's the real killer who they've been copying this whole time. And now that she pissed him off, he says that he's coming after her next. All my friends are dead. And you know what? Good on them, because that was f***ery of the highest order. I'm glad a bunch of teenage influencer style kids got slashed up, because that's what I needed. But also, god damn, could you be any stupider? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm the guy. I'll see you in the next episode, and have a damn good day.